I don't know why I'm writing this all down now. I mean, no one would believe me, and maybe no one will. But no matter how hard I try to rationalize away what happened, I know what I saw. It wasn't the first summer the four of us had spent together at the annual youth camp about an hour from my house. I still remember their carefree faces, smiling, laughing. None of us knew this trip would be our last. As we arrived at the camp, we unloaded our bags from the car and headed towards our cabin. The sun was shining brightly, the birds were chirping, and the air was filled with the sound of our laughter. We settled into our cabin after orientation and looked forward to our activities for the week. We were all excited to be back together again. The first few days were filled with swimming, singing around a campfire, and exploring the nature trails. It was on the fourth night that things started to get strange. We were all sitting around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling ghost stories. That's when we heard the rustling in the bushes. At first, we thought it was just an animal, but then we saw it.
What's that?
Jack asked, pointing behind me. I chuckled. Hardy hard, dude. I'm not falling for it.
Nah, man, just look,
he insisted. I rolled my eyes and slowly looked over my shoulder. A pair of glowing eyes stared back at me from the undergrowth, just beyond the firelight. My heart immediately started beating faster as whatever this thing was seemed to blink as it watched us in silence. Get back, kids! Behind me! Jim, the lead counselor at camp, stepped forward with some small pots we'd used to cook. As we all scurried to one side, he opened his jacket and started banging the pots together, shouting at our uninvited guest. We all watched breathlessly as the creature let out a blood-curdling screech and stood up on two legs, startled by the sudden movement. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was tall, with matted fur covering its entire body, and sharp claws that glinted in the firelight. Its eyes were piercing and seemed to glow with an otherworldly intensity. As Jim continued to bang the pots, the creature made a sudden move, charging at us with frightening speed. We all screamed and scattered, trying to get as far away from the creature as possible. I stumbled and fell, my ankle twisting painfully under me. I cried out in pain, trying to crawl away from the creature as it seized Jim, tearing into him mercilessly. I buried my head in the dirt, frozen in terror, trying to block out his dying screams, accented by the crunching, squelching sounds of his flesh being consumed live. I closed my eyes, bracing for the worst. But then, everything went silent. I opened my eyes slowly, expecting to see the creature standing over me, ready to strike. Instead, sunlight blinded me as soon as I raised my head, and I reflexively closed my eyes again. I squinted and raised my hand to my forehead, searching frantically for any sign of the creature. Not only was there no sign of it, nothing remained of my friends or Jim, save a small slick of blood and viscera on the ground where he'd been killed. I tried to stand, but my ankle gave out on me and I fell back to the ground. Pain shot through the joint and a sharp spasm shot up my leg. I closed my eyes and tried to focus, which was difficult since I was still coming down from the shock of what had just happened. I slowly stood up, fighting back a wave of nausea and pain. I stepped over to the mess that had once been the head counselor and gagged. With no idea of where to turn, I limped through the woods, following the winding trail that would eventually lead back towards the main cabins. I was about halfway there when I saw another counselor coming up the trail. I broke down crying, my body racked with sharp spasms as I struggled to catch my breath. Seeing me in turn, Brandon broke into a run until he caught up with me. "Jack! Derek! Oh my God! Where are you?" I cried, nearly delirious. "Jack! Where are you? Tell me you're okay, please." I sobbed, clinging to Brandon's shoulder as he knelt beside me. Hey now. It's okay, I'm here. Everything's going to be alright," he assured me. "What happened to you? Are you hurt?" he asked, looking me over. He saw my ankle and gasped, "Oh, wow. We need to get you to a doctor." The monster." I rambled, done in by pain and exhaustion. Brandon pulled out his cell phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency?" asked the operator on the other end. "I need an ambulance. I have a friend who was attacked by a wild animal." "What kind of animal?" I'm not really sure. It was just some kind of big, fur-covered thing with teeth and claws." "All right. I'm sending someone right away. Where are you?" "I'm at the campground off Highway 18. We're just off the main trail, west of the cabins." "Okay. The ambulance and police will be there as soon as possible. Stay with your friend. Brandon hung up the phone and looked down at me. The ambulance is on its way. We can't stay here. It's too dangerous. Let's get you back to the cabin so you can have something more comfortable to lie on. He scooped me up and carried me the rest of the way to the cabin. I made it to the hospital eventually, and aside from a sprained ankle, shattered nerves, and some scrapes, I was alright. My friends weren't, though. They were never found. Not a single trace. I explained to everyone who would listen what I'd seen, but it didn't do any good. I was written off as a grief-stricken child whose mind had created what it wanted to see to make sense of my trauma. The camp was deserted immediately, and the police never did find the creature. To make matters worse, when they found Jim's body, the attack was blamed on a mountain lion found in the area. But I didn't buy it. I know what I saw, and it was no cougar. My parents tried to convince me that the trauma from seeing my friends murdered had left me with some kind of delusion. But they don't understand. I'm hoping that if I get this written down, maybe someone will finally believe me. I have to believe that the memory of what I saw that day will stop haunting me someday.